There is a moment before anger speaks, so brief it almost does not exist. A breath, a tightening in the chest, a spark behind the eyes. Most people never notice it. They are already shouting, already regretting, already apologizing for words that escape them like wild animals. But Marcus Aurelius noticed that moment. And because he noticed it, anger never owned him the way it owns so many men. Imagine standing on the edge of a battlefield, dust in the air, bodies still warm, the weight of empire pressing against your ribs. Imagine knowing that one careless reaction could cost thousands of lives. That is where this understanding was forged, not in comfort, not in theory, in the raw center of consequence. Marcus Aurelius did not ask how to destroy anger. He asked something far more dangerous. He asked how to see it clearly. Anger, he realized, does not arrive as rage. It arrives as a story. A quiet, convincing whisper that says you have been wronged, that something has been taken from you, that you must respond now or lose yourself forever. The mind tells you that this feeling is urgent, righteous, necessary. It feels true. It feels personal. It feels impossible to resist. But Marcus saw what most never do. The feeling itself is not the problem. The problem is the speed with which we obey it. The human mind moves faster than wisdom, faster than reason, faster than truth. And anger lives in that speed. It thrives in immediacy. The moment you react without space, it wins. The moment you pause, it begins to weaken. He wrote to himself not as a philosopher, but as a man fighting his own impulses. He reminded himself that nothing outside the mind has the power it pretends to have. That insults are only sounds. That disrespect is only an interpretation. That no one can harm your inner order unless you grant permission. This is where the rule was born, not as a technique, but as a discipline of awareness. A small window of time in which the mind could regain sovereignty over itself. When something provokes you, the body reacts instantly. The heart accelerates. The muscles tighten. The breath becomes shallow. This is ancient. This is survival. But survival is not wisdom. Marcus understood that the body reacts before the mind can judge. So he gave the mind time to arrive. In that brief pause, something extraordinary happens. The story begins to crack. You realize that the anger is not you. It is something happening within you. A weather pattern passing through consciousness. And like all weather, it can be observed without being obeyed. Most men believe anger gives them strength. Marcus saw that it gives them blindness. When anger speaks, reason goes silent. Judgment becomes distorted. The mind shrinks to the size of the wound it imagines. You stop seeing the whole and fixate on the offense. He trained himself to remember this in the heat of the moment. He reminded himself that the person provoking him is acting according to their own understanding, their own limitations, their own fears. That they are not attacking him personally, even if it feels that way. They are acting out their nature just as fire burns and storms rage. Once you see this, anger begins to lose its moral authority. It no longer feels justified. It feels unnecessary, almost childish, like arguing with the wind. Marcus also understood something deeply uncomfortable. Anger often disguises itself as virtue. It convinces you that you are standing up for yourself, defending your dignity, protecting what matters. But more often than not, it is the ego demanding recognition. It is pride refusing to be touched. It is the self insisting on being important. He warned himself that whenever anger feels righteous, it is at its most dangerous, because then it does not ask permission, it commands. The pause interrupts that command. In those seconds of stillness, you remember what you control and what you do not. You remember that your reputation is not yours to manage. That other people's opinions live outside your jurisdiction. That events unfold according to forces far larger than your irritation. You also remember something even more grounding. That you are mortal. That this moment, this offense, this sting, will dissolve like everything else. That reacting with anger will not preserve you. It will only tie you more tightly to what is fleeting. Marcus wrote that life is short and the mind is easily disturbed. He did not mean this as a complaint. He meant it as a warning. A reminder to be careful with what you give your energy to. Anger demands payment in peace. And it never gives a receipt. He trained himself to delay, to sit inside the discomfort without expressing it, to feel the heat without letting it burn others. This was not suppression. It was mastery. Suppression hides anger until it explodes later. Mastery allows it to pass without leaving damage. In that pause, he would ask himself a simple question. Is this within my control? If the answer was no, the anger had no place to stand. If the answer was yes, then calm action was possible without emotional violence. This is what most people misunderstand about Stoicism. It is not coldness. It is clarity. It is not indifference. It is precision. The Stoic does not feel less. He feels more accurately. Anger blurs the lens through which we see the world. The pause cleans it. Marcus knew that reacting instantly feels powerful. It feels decisive. It feels alive. But he also knew that real power is quiet. It moves slowly. It does not need to announce itself. He saw emperors before him destroyed by their tempers. He saw families broken by a single uncontrolled moment. He saw lives altered permanently by words that could never be taken back. And he understood that most of this destruction came not from malice, but from speed. The world trains you to react, to respond immediately, to defend yourself instantly, to clap back, to prove something. Marcus trained himself to do the opposite, to step back from the edge of impulse and watch it dissolve. The pause does not make you weak. It makes you unreachable. Because when you do not react, you cannot be controlled. When you do not give anger your voice, it has nowhere to live. When you create space between stimulus and response, you reclaim authorship of your behavior. This is not easy. It requires practice. It requires humility. It requires the willingness to let go of the pleasure of being right. But Marcus believed that inner order was worth more than momentary satisfaction. He reminded himself daily that people will be difficult, that insults will come, that misunderstandings are inevitable, and that expecting otherwise is foolish. The surprise is what fuels anger. Acceptance disarms it. By expecting friction, he met it calmly. By accepting human imperfection, he stopped demanding perfection from the world. And by remembering his own flaws, he softened his judgment of others. Anger feeds on the illusion that things should be different than they are. Wisdom begins when you see things as they are and choose your response deliberately. The pause is not about counting time. It is about entering awareness. It is about stepping out of the story long enough to see it clearly. In that space, you are no longer a character being acted upon. You are the observer deciding what happens next. This is where the transformation begins, not in force, not in suppression, but in attention. Marcus Aurelius did not conquer anger by fighting it. He conquered it by understanding it, by slowing down long enough to see through its disguise. And once you see anger clearly, it can never deceive you in the same way again. This is only the beginning. In the next part, the pause deepens. The mind learns not only how to stop anger, but how to dissolve its roots entirely. How to move through life untouched by provocation, calm even in chaos, steady even when the world presses hard against you. But that requires going deeper, into the self, into judgment, into the quiet place where freedom actually lives. When the pause becomes familiar, something subtle changes inside you. Anger no longer feels like an enemy to defeat, but like a signal asking to be understood. You begin to notice that most provocations lose their force the moment you refuse to rush toward them. What once felt explosive now feels distant, almost unreal, as if it belongs to another person. Marcus Aurelius discovered that anger survives only where judgment is careless. The moment you examine your judgment, the emotion weakens. You see that what disturbed you was never the event itself, but the meaning you attached to it. A word, a look, a delay, a disagreement. None of these carry rage within them. Rage is added by the mind quietly and automatically unless you intervene. As this awareness grows, you stop feeling personally attacked by the world. You begin to see people as acting from their own confusion, fear, or ignorance. Not as enemies, not as threats to your worth, just as humans moving through life with imperfect understanding, the same as you. This is where anger truly dissolves. Not because you suppress it, but because it no longer makes sense to hold on to it. Why punish yourself for someone else's blindness? Why poison your inner peace over something that will not matter in the long arc of your life? Marcus reminded himself that every moment you lose to anger is a moment stolen from your limited time on earth. And once you truly grasp how brief life is, you become far more selective about what deserves your energy. Petty conflicts shrink. Insults fade quickly. Silence becomes powerful. You also begin to notice something unexpected. When you no longer react with anger, people lose their power over you. Provocation fails. Manipulation collapses. Calm becomes a kind of armor no one knows how to penetrate. Not because you dominate others, but because you have mastered yourself. This is the quiet strength the Stoics lived by. A strength that does not announce itself. A control that does not need to prove anything. A steadiness that remains intact whether praised or attacked. Anger once promised you protection. Now you see it was only noise. The pause gave you clarity. Clarity gave you freedom. And with freedom comes a strange peace. Not the peace of comfort, but the peace of knowing that whatever happens outside you, your inner order remains untouched. This is how Marcus Aurelius lived. Not free from emotion, but free from slavery to it. And once you taste that freedom, even for a moment, you understand that no insult, no delay, no disrespect is worth surrendering it. From that day on, anger no longer rules you. You rule yourself.